Hello friends and welcome to lesson number 7. This is the 11th video. We are studying Agri sector policy. In this video friends, we'll continue discussion about the APMC, which is the Agricultural Produce Marketing Committees. But in this video we will see what is the link between APMC, food inflation in our country, and also the price volatility of the food items, especially onions, vegetables, fruits, different kinds of food grains. So we'll see how are these linked, what are the causes, what are the various policy tools, and some of the case studies. So we'll focus on these particular topics. So first of all, let us understand what is a price transmission mechanism, how APMC prices affect the retail prices. Okay, because in APMC it is basically a wholesale market where the farmers come, then there is auction, then some trader will purchase it, and then they will send it in the retail market for sale. So now how it affects and how the price is transmitted from farmer to the final consumer, that mechanism we need to first understand. So mandi prices serve as a benchmark for wholesale and retail food prices. This is obvious. Then APMC auctions determine farm gate prices, which cascade through supply chain. So basically farm gate meaning at the farmer point. So whatever the farmer receives, okay, whatever money the farmer receives, so that is a farm gate price. Example, a 10% rise in onion mandi prices in Nashik increases retail price by 8 to 12% in other cities, as per the report of ICAR, okay, Indian Council of Agriculture Research of 2022. So if 10% rise in onion prices, mandi prices in Nashik, because Nashik is a big producer of onions, it is very famous throughout the country, it is famous, and it supplies onions to many parts of the countries, and a 10% increase of mandi prices of onion in Nashik leads to an increase of 8 to 12%, meaning average 10% price in other cities also, meaning there is a full transmission of price increase at the mandi level till the customers. Now, what are the various factors influencing mandi prices? So let us first understand the first point of contact where the transactions happen and how different factors influence that prices, that is mandi prices. Okay, so one is the supply demand dynamics. Obviously, if there is more demand of a particular product or a particular food grain in the market, for example in a festive season, say people want to purchase more bananas, so obviously the demand for bananas will go up. Or maybe on the festival of Akshay Tritiya, usually in the states like Maharashtra, there is a more demand for mangoes. So on that day the price of mangoes will be more because demand is more. So demand supply dynamics is important. Transport cost and trader margin also, obviously, yes, because sometimes the transport cost can also fluctuate, because sometimes the transportation is available, the trucks are available, sometimes they are on different kind of strikes are there, highway jams are there. Everything depends on the dynamic situation. Then MSP procurement in APMC, example wheat, rice, stabilizes farmer incomes but influences market prices, right? So whatever is the MSP, that also will determine the market price. If the MSP goes up, obviously the market price will also go up. How is it linked to inflation? Food inflation constitutes almost 40% of our CPI, that is consumer price index in India. So consumer price index, we know that it takes the changes in price in different kinds of commodities. So food is one of them, then there is housing, then there other education, transportation, etc. Other things are also there, but 40% weightage is given to food in the consumer price index. And volatility in mandi prices directly impacts retail food prices, affecting household budgets. So mandi prices will transmit to the household directly, right? Then what are the causes of price volatility? Why this price is volatile? Why it is not stable? So volatility means unstable, basically something which is not stable, so something which fluctuates a lot. So that is volatility. Supply shocks are there, sometimes because of monsoon failure or excessive rainfall, agricultural produce may be impacted, and because of that there is supply shocks. Weather disruptions, unseasonal rain in Maharashtra reduced onion output by 20% in 2019. We know that 2019 Maharashtra floods are very famous. Then pest attacks, diseases, crop diseases. Example, fall armyworm affecting maize. So this is also another episode where this disease attack caused decline in production of maize. Then storage bottlenecks also. So we don't have sufficient storage places like cold storage, warehouses, etc. Inadequate cold storage. Only 10% of perishables stored properly in our country. It leads to post-harvest losses. Almost 15 to 20% of vegetables is lost because of lack of storage facilities. Example, tomato price spikes due to spoilage during monsoon. So this is an example which happens. Then hoarding and speculation. Some of these traders, they will hoard the things for the time when there is huge demand in the market. So that is also a problem. Traders hoard essential commodities, example onions, pulses, to create an artificial scarcity. And weak enforcement of anti-hoarding laws, that is Essential Commodities Act of 1955. So enforcement is weak, and it is very essential that the administration or the government does a very strong enforcement on these traders so that they don't keep hoarding the essential commodities like food items. Okay, so again, that is a cause of volatility in price of the food items. Then external factors are also influencing other factors, extraneous factors like fuel price hikes. So obviously it will increase the transportation cost if the price of petrol and diesel goes up, inflating food prices. So ultimately the oil price will reflect in food prices also, because everything depends on the transportation. Ultimately, global commodity price fluctuation, example edible oil imports. So again, that also affects your price volatility of the food items. Let us look at some of the important key data. So food inflation averaged about 6 to 8% annually from 2015 to 24 as per the RBI report, which is a little high because see, our inflation target is 4% plus or minus 2% in this band, but you see that this is a little on the higher side. Only the food inflation we are talking. And onion prices spiked by 50 to 100% in 2019 due to supply shocks. Okay, so 50 to 100% meaning if the onion was 20 rupees per kg, then because of this it increased to almost 40 rupees per kg. So double, 100% hike means double prices happened. And similar episodes happened back in 1990s also. I think in 1993 when the onion prices had spiked like this. Then APMC is linked to volatility. How APMC is linked to this price volatility? There is limited competition in APMC. We have seen that only licensed traders can participate in APMC, and they tend to form cartels. We know what is the meaning of cartels, right? So cartelization is a big problem there, and trader cartels in APMC manipulate prices, inflating cost for farmers. Example, in 2020 pulse prices rose by 15% due to trader collusion in major mandis. Collusion meaning they combine together, they come together, they collude together in order to set prices. So what they'll do is they'll purchase at a low price from the farmer but sell in the retail market at a very, very high prices. So they collude together and they do these price manipulations. MSP distortions is also seen. MSP, procurement of rice and wheat, reduces market supply, pushing up open market prices. So if the farmers are going and selling in the mandis where government is procuring, so very less is available for private markets, for open markets, and therefore if MSP is high and more people are selling in the government procurement process, then less is available for the open market, and obviously the demand will rise there and the supply is less, so prices will increase. Wheat MSP hikes in 2022 increased retail flour prices by 10%. So see, immediately the effect is seen. Then there are interstate barriers also. APMC regulation restrict interstate trade, causing regional supply imbalances. Surplus onions in Maharashtra cannot easily reach deficit regions like Delhi. So transportation is not an easy process because different states have different laws and there are various check nakas. But with GSTs, however, this has reduced, but still there are constraints in this supply chain. Then inefficient price discovery. Another problem, manual auctions in many mandis lack transparency, leading to price distortion. So there is no digital system, the system is not so transparent, and as we know that this collusion and cartelization by the traders, they manipulate prices and they do manual auctions. So farmers don't have the capacity to actually see whether these prices are the true prices and the price discovery is efficient or not. So that is a problem. What are some of the policy tools for keeping price stable in our country? So one is to have buffer stocks. FCI maintains buffer stocks of essential commodities like rice, wheat. Example, 50 million tons of rice or wheat in 2023 to stabilize prices. So that's why we have buffer stocks. Open market sales scheme, OMSS releases grains during price spikes. So what government does is, from its FCI go down, it supplies commodities in the open market also where demand is high, so that the supply also increases and the price is balanced. So this is also done. Then price stabilization fund, 10,000 crore fund in 2014 was created to procure and release perishable items like onions and potatoes, and price stabilization fund interventions stabilized onion prices in 2020. So this helps. So government has set aside 10,000 crore fund, and from this it can be released whenever it is required to stabilize prices when the prices are very volatile because of several reasons. It can be monsoon, it can be excessive rains, it can be drought, it can be other weather shocks, it can be supply chain disruptions like transportation, it can be other external factors. For whatever reason, if the price fluctuates, if the price is volatile, in order to stabilize that, the government uses this price stabilization fund. Then the export import management, also very important. Temporary export bans on onions in 2019, so that the people don't send it in the outside world. Export meaning we are selling it to rest of the world. So if we ban that, obviously the material will be available in our country, and the supply will increase in the domestic market, and obviously the price will stabilize. Or import duty reduction. So if we are importing something, for example edible oil we are importing, and if we reduce the import duties, the taxes on imports, then obviously the prices will drop in the domestic market. So these are the measures which the government take time and again in order to stabilize our food prices. Okay. Example of this is pulses in 2021, import duty was reduced to control prices. Then various market reforms are also undertaken. ENAM, we have seen, Electronic National Agriculture Market. It promotes competitive pricing by connecting various mandis. Contract farming is another way where private players can take part. And it reduces dependencies on APMCs. So better storage and better availability, better buffer stocking. So all that is possible. And strengthening of regulation, amending Essential Commodities Act in 2020 to curb hoarding through enforcement, it remains weak. So we have to strengthen our regulations so that enforcement is strong. More powers are given to the officers so that they can take stringent action against such people who are hoarding the essential commodities. Let us look at the case study of 2019 onion crisis. What was the context? Onion prices surged to 100 to 150 rupees per kg in 2019 due to heavy rains in Maharashtra. 70% of India's onion supply comes from Maharashtra, that too from Nashik region. And hoarding by traders in APMCs exacerbated the prices. So exacerbated meaning made even worse. Okay, made further worse. Meaning condition became worse because of hoarding by the traders. So what they thought is that the onion supply is very, very less because of rains. It has the crop has damaged, and therefore many of these traders, they hoarded onions in their godowns and released in very, very small amounts so that they'll get more prices. So this was the context. What was the impact? Food inflation hit 10% because onion is a major part of the basket of food that the people have in our country. As per the RBI report of 2019, food inflation hit 10%. Consumer distress in urban areas, farmer losses due to crop damage. So farmers are also losing, people are also paying more, and some of the traders are benefiting out of it. So that is the problem. What was the policy response? Export bans were imposed, so nobody will export onions so that it is available in the domestic market. Price stabilization fund was used to procure onions, and buffer stocks were released. And NAFED is a government agency. It distributed onions at subsidized rates. So this was the intervention that the government had to do, that a government institute, NAFED, had to get into distribution of onions to the people at subsidized rates, just like the government does it for fertilizers. Sometimes you must have heard that urea and DAP and other fertilizers are distributed through government channels, at the time of shortage of fertilizers or at the time of need. So that kind of measure was taken for onions also. What is the lesson we have learned from this? We need better storage. Obviously, only 5% of onions are stored in cold storages. We need to have more infrastructure so that in such a time of distress, we have buffer stocks. Then ENAM and private markets can reduce APMC driven price spikes. Okay, proactive weather forecasting and supply chain planning are critical. So we need to plan the supply chain very well. Private sector participation is equally important, and weather forecasting is also very, very important, because everything depends on weather. Indian agriculture depends heavily on weather. So there should be a pre-warning so that people know how to act and how to save their crops, how to have better storage, etc. Okay, so this was about APMC, food inflation, price volatility, and how do we stabilize, what are the various ways in which we can do it, and why is it important. So here you have to keep one thing in mind, that it is important that the farmers, as a supplier of food grains, should get remunerative prices, meaning they should get high prices, high income, okay, for their produce, and at the same time consumers, they get food items at an affordable price. So these are the two things that we need to balance, and the government takes a lot of steps in order to do this. Okay, so we'll continue agri sector policy in the next video. Thank you.